My name is Bethany Cordell. I'm our Associate Athletic Director here at Montana State. I'm joined today with Leon Costello, our Director of Athletics, and we're here to talk about our family fan experience. And so, Leon, now that we've made it to the other side of Gold Rush and we're approaching our second home game, we're really in the thick of your fourth season with the Bobcats. Can you talk about how you've seen our game day experience evolve over these 4 years?
I just think engagement and getting our fans involved in everything that we are doing. There are a lot of things that go into every game day. And each game brings its own kind of nuances because of the different promotions and things that we do. And so one, I've seen our communication to our fans increase and letting them know what needs to go on. But I've also seen the reciprocal of our fans' involvement in our game day increase as well. And so you're talking about Gold Rush and wearing gold. You're talking about stripe the stadium and wearing the different colors, wearing the blue and gold at different sections. Pack the place in pink. People are wearing their pink, and military appreciation is one of my favorites. And all the different things that we are doing. I like it. It just brings excitement to the game. Obviously, people are coming in, want to watch the game, but there are so many different things that go around that game. And I think when you walk into the stadium, you see a bunch of different things that are going on within the stadium as well. And so I think communication has been key. I think safety and well-being of our student athletes and fans, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I think is really key as well. But I think our big goal is for everybody to come, have a great time, cheer on the Bobcats, cheer them on to a victory, leave very, very happy, and come back the next week ready to do it again.
I love it. You mentioned a lot of groups that are involved in game day, right? Whether it's the promotions, whether it's the safety. Over the summer, we created this group that we've called the Family Fan Experience Team to take a 360 look into what our fan experience is, really that driveway to driveway approach. Can you talk about how important it is to get everybody that touches the fan experience in the same room?
Well, I think just having fan feedback in general is great, and we do have fans that will reach out to us within the athletic department, and we love that and we encourage that. But we also know that we have other fans that are definitely involved, and maybe more involved than others, that are reaching out as well, just on behalf of fans. And as you and I know, we don't get to see everything that happens on a game day, and I try and do my best to walk around the stadium as soon as the gates open, and then during the game as well, just to see what's going on, to see where the lines are, to see maybe where some of the pinch points are, and maybe some of the things that we can do better, and just to talk. But a lot of times you can't get to everybody, and so having fans give us feedback so we can get better on our daily operations during a game is vitally important. And sometimes that fan-to-fan communication is so important because sometimes people don't want to come to us and they don't want to tell us some of those things, but they'll go tell their friend, or they'll go tell maybe the people that they're sitting next to kind of what their experience has been. And we want to know all of that because we want to make this such an enjoyable experience that people want to come back and they look forward to coming back. And of course they buy tickets and concessions and gear while they're here as well. But it all results into hopefully the best game day environment, the best atmosphere for our student athletes, and trying to create the best home field advantage that we can.
You mentioned it several times already, the word feedback, being able to hear from our fans. When you and I first got here about 4 years ago, we created a fan advisory council where we had about 25 to 30 fans that we throw ideas to and get their feedback on. We hear from them on those pain points, etc. But one of the things that we did going into this football season was to launch a post-game survey. And so that was to really expand our opportunities to get feedback, not just from those 30 people, but from over the 700 people that filled out this first survey. And so let's kind of go through some of that, some of the feedback that we got. First of all, it was great to hear about the things that our fans love. Obviously the rodeo team, being able to have them lead out the team on game days is so special. So huge shout out to Coach Andy.
And let's talk about that a little bit because I think people need to know we would love the rodeo team to be here every game. Yep. I think the rodeo team would love to be here every game as well, but they have competitions and things that are going on the weekends, and so when they are available, they will be here. Yes. But we all know it's not going to be every week, but hopefully it's more times than not.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Great point. And so having them lead us out, the passion and enthusiasm that the Spirit of the West just exudes wherever they go, our marching band, the friendliness of our game day staff, I could go on and on. What do you take from these positives as well as other positives on this survey? What does that mean to you?
I just think that there are a lot of things that we're doing well. When you look at all the different areas that when you talked about, from concessions to sports facilities and the customer service staff to the University Police Department and the getting people into the games and patrolling kind of around the tailgating lots, all the different things that we touch. We've added a command center on the 5th floor, and we have a person from the National Weather Service that's here every game. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on, but there's a lot of communication and coordination that takes place as well. I look forward to the feedback. I think it's one of the best things that we've done for people to be able to provide easy and quick feedback to us, so then we can take a look after each and every game. But it's also important to know that there are a lot of different people from a lot of different areas on campus every week working together to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about, like you said, getting that feedback and being able to make some changes on some issues, let's just hit a couple that we heard about on Saturday. We had cold water in the women's restrooms. We already have a work order in process. That's going to be fixed by our next home game. The ref mic was too quiet, or it was a little muffled, and so, well, we can never make guarantees about technology, of course.
I think I said that to you too.
You definitely were on the list of people that gave me feedback on that. But we've been able to adjust some of our internal volume levels, so that should be fixed for Saturday as well too. We had new markings in the tailgate lots that were a little confusing for some of our tailgate holders, so we mitigated issues on game day, and we have more communication going out ahead of game day. And then one of the things that actually kind of surprised me the most was we had a lot of people that wanted an opportunity to put more than one email address on their season ticket account. I think that's really important, especially staying with the vibe of, Bobcat family. There's a lot of people in our community that have, one person that maybe is the account holder, but they divvy up their tickets to 15, 20 members of their family. And so to be able to have multiple people on that account, so you are getting those game day emails and you're being able to get that feedback, I think is great. So that's in the works too. So how important just overall do you think it is to be able to see these, especially as our athletic director, to be able to get this feedback and turn around to make these immediate changes?
Well, I think you hit on some areas there that are very specific, and not everybody will see or feel that on a given game day, and some people may not experience any of that. But when people do, I think having a quick and easy access to be able to provide that feedback is critically important, because then we can get on it right away. And it doesn't take us a whole lot of time to be able to, like you said, submit a work order to facilities and services here on campus to help us out with a water issue, or with the tailgate lots, to be able to get out some communication about, the signs aren't on the right side of the lot of the parking stalls anymore, they're right down the center, and just simple things like that if we can take some of those issues away on game day, where people aren't thinking about that, they're just thinking about having a good time and cheering on the Bobcats. That's kind of our role in this, but having a mechanism for them to be able to submit that feedback right away, quick and easy, so then we can take a look at it. Because there's a lot of times, as you and I know, we don't hear about everything, but to have 700 responses and to get the kind of feedback that we did, we can use that to our advantage to continue to make game day a great experience.
Love it. There's a couple bigger conversational topics, I think, that I saw come up multiple ways in our survey, so let's talk about them. Starting with concessions, one of the things that I did see come up kind of in and out of the survey was that people want more variety in their concessions offerings. So let's just talk about that.
Yeah, I think, Ron and Meredith with our concessions operations, they do an unbelievable job each and every week. At all of our athletic events, they do a great job. I guess I would encourage everybody to come in and get into the stadium a little bit early and walk around the concourse, because each and every year, I will say, but also each and every game, there are different offerings that we have. And if you come in early and walk around, you'll be able to see a lot of the different things that are going on. And I know I'm one of them. I get in the habit of coming in the same gate and going through my same routine when I get into the stadium, and I know our fans do the same thing. But if you do come a little bit early, or if you come at your normal time, take a trip around the stadium and see kind of what the offerings are. I know we talked a lot about the turkey legs.
Yes,
a lot of the times you see that at the state fairs and things like that. But those are the types of things that Ron has been very open to bringing those new ideas here. He likes to go around and see what's working at these other places, whether it's a state fair or another stadium or whatever it might be. And he likes to bring those ideas here to see if they'll work. And I think each and every year they have. I know I think it was the Wagyu burger was last year. So he has all these different offerings, and they do an excellent job. I encourage people, though, to come in and walk around the stadium, or to check out the concessions maps that we have to see where some of those items are at.
Absolutely. And we've made a couple changes, too, based on that. Last week, we uploaded the concessions map to our website that hadn't been on there before. That was a no-brainer. And then we're making sure, too, that we feature our concessions items more prominently in those game day emails that go out. So I think that's a really good one. Let's talk about entry into the stadium. That obviously is always going to be a point of conversation regardless of where you are in the country. But why don't you talk about kind of what our priorities are as we're getting people into the stadium, and then during the event and post-event?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's been to our games at Bobcat Stadium in the last 2 years has seen a difference, has seen a change with the metal detectors and the screening process that we go through. With the clear bags and the screening process, we have seen an increase in speed and people getting into the gates. And so it has actually sped up the entry time into the stadium so people can get in at a good time. But as we know, as game time gets closer and people wait to come into the stadium, if there's a lot of people that are waiting to come in at the same time, there are going to be some lines. And so we always encourage people to come in a little bit earlier so you can avoid the lines and avoid the rush. But obviously those mechanisms are set up in place for the safety and well-being of our student athletes, of our fans, of our staff that work every game. As we know, we live in a different time, and throughout the country there are things going on. We want to be as proactive as possible in protecting, what people love to be able to come to Montana State University and do, and that's one of the mechanisms that has really helped us. We talked a little bit about the control room that we put up on the 5th floor. That's all in place for fan safety as well. We're always constantly watching the weather. We're able to watch each and every gate from that command center to see if there are some bottlenecks that we can go down and maybe alleviate. And so we are constantly watching as fans come in what we can do to alleviate that. But first and foremost, I want people to know that it's all for the safety and well-being of everybody that's involved. 2, come early so you can avoid lines, and 3, we hope that these processes help speed up the time that it takes to get into the stadium.
I love that. And I mean, diving into the numbers of this survey, 97% of our fans indicated that they were aware of the clear bag policy, which I think is great.
Yes.
We're in the 2nd year of this, and one of the things too that as we were discussing this in that family fan experience team meeting that I learned from Andy, who's in charge of our guest services staff, is that their motto is be helpful, be kind, be consistent for their staff. And I think that's just so great. You talk about the clear bags, and sometimes that's easier or more difficult rather than
right.
easy to make those judgment calls if it's a little bit bigger. And so I think our call to the fans would be then just to make sure that you are following that policy so that we are protecting everybody. All right, last topic we'll talk about is replays.
Yes.
I would certainly say that might be what we receive the most constructive criticism about.
Well, I'm going to flip the switch a little bit
Yeah.
and turn it over to you, because as most people know, you sit up on the 5th floor and you really produce all the things that go on game days. I mean, from the ref's mic and making sure that that's up, to all the promotions that go on the field, to the intro, which everybody commented on about how great the intro was, Gold Rush, to all the different coordination events that take place, to the video board. All those things fall under your purview. You're on the headset. But the one thing we do hear about is, why aren't there more replays?
Right.
Why aren't there more replays? So tell us about the replay policy.
Absolutely. And so what I think a lot of our fans don't know, and so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about, is that the Big Sky Conference actually regulates how we show replays on the video board, which does make it a different experience than if you're watching at home and if you're watching on television. And so one of the things that are really the 2 main rules that we're supposed to follow with replays is that you're allowed to show it once, and you are only allowed to show it at full speed. So you aren't allowed to slow it down. You aren't allowed to show replays, especially for controversial plays, more than once. And I think that's really hard sometimes for fans, because obviously we want to be able to see it multiple times. And don't tell anybody. I do fudge it occasionally with some of our touchdowns that we want to show from multiple angles and stuff like that. But I think that's really important to understand too, that those conference rules and regulations are in place for a number of reasons. But the bottom line is that if we're not following those, we can risk a penalty, which we have certainly seen in the past. And so making sure that we're able to do that we're really cognizant too of the timing. That's one of the things that I've heard from fans too, is just the timing of the replays. We work with Montana PBS on campus to produce our video board show, which is just a phenomenal partnership, being able to work with professionals at that level, but just constantly fine-tuning. Are we showing the replay immediately after the play? Are we waiting a little bit? Are we coming out of the media timeout to show that touchdown again? And so those sorts of pieces are the ones we can control, and so we do work on getting better at that from game to game.
Well, let's expand on that just a little bit. I'm going to go off script here a little bit and talk about, because we're pretty fortunate with our fan base, with the amount of people that we get at Bobcat football games. Talk about what you're doing to try and create that experience to generate the atmosphere in the stadium, because a lot of times we hear, well, people can stay at home, they can watch as many replays as they get, as TV will show. They had the refrigerator that's right there, their couch is really comfortable. But in my opinion, you don't get the experience that everybody does when they're in the stadium. So talk a little bit about what you do to really generate that excitement that's in the stadium.
Absolutely, great question. And honestly, it's probably my #1 focus this time of year. We look at everything. My philosophy as a game producer is that you're not going to be able to please 20,000 fans with everything you do. I can't even please an entire football team.
Can you play my favorite song?
Yeah, exactly. Can you play my favorite song? I hate this song, don't play that. And so we really focus on making sure there's something for everyone. We really also focus on making sure that the students get here, and I think that we've been able to see that this year with selling out of our student tickets on the first day for both games so far this year. There's something about being in college athletics and having a college football game. It starts with the students. It really does.
Right.
And
I
so
agree 100%.
When you fill that student section and get them electric and get them into the game, the rest of the stadium follows suit. And so again, we look at something for everyone. We try and do a mix of our music. That's something too that we hear about as well too, is what kind of music we play. Pre-game, before the team is on the field, we're doing a great mix of maybe some oldies and some top 40, and then when the team gets on the field, we kind of go back and forth with warm-ups and stuff. And so it really is just finding different ways to engage with our students, with our kids. I mean, Bozeman is exploding, right? The community of Bozeman. And so how do we get these families that are moving to Bozeman that have no association with Montana State, how do we get them to build that affinity for the blue and gold? And so I think that's always a constant thing. I love ideas from our fans. I mean, a lot of people think I'm crazy with how often I am asking for ideas, but if you get one good one out of every 50 people that give you feedback, like that can help change that atmosphere.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. We've got another game on Saturday. It's our final non-conference game. It's our annual Strike the Stadium game. So we sure hope you guys join us, and be sure to watch your emails and social media to fill out our next survey so you can continue to give us feedback. And thanks for joining me today, Liam.
Yep. Thanks everybody, and go Cats.
Go Cats.